Everybody, this is Dear Mama Sal, and it's Saturday afternoon. I'm off to go and get my hair cut one more time, and it's a little bit soon since the last one. It's only 4 weeks ago that I had the last haircut, but it's amazing how much it's grown. Absolutely frightening, actually, how much it's grown in just 4 weeks, never mind 5. So I'm glad I actually did schedule to have the haircut now and not wait until another 2 weeks. I'm just looking at the beautiful flowers everybody's got in their garden, and it makes me know why I love this time of year. And there's a guy in his car, and he's got a baby rocking machine in the back. I guess he won't be having too many sleeping nights in the near future. Or he's hoping that he will, one or the other. Well, it's the end of a difficult week, and a lot of you related to how difficult this week was for me, and some of you actually humbled me because you had far greater losses than I did. And but the main thing was that we all helped each other through it, and that's always very exciting. I wanted to give some credit today to everybody that was on the broadcast yet last night. We had a new person visit on the broadcast, and it actually was very, very interesting to hear him talk. He was saying that he had isolated himself from the world, and I know a lot of you relate to what he meant by that. And in fact, he went as far as to say that he had over-isolated. And I asked him, obviously, what he meant by that. I was pretty sure I understood, but you know, you never really know what somebody else means until you ask them. So I asked him that, and he had isolated himself to the extent that he was now scared to go back and interact. And I know a lot of you can relate to that as well. And, you know, it was amazing because he gave us all sorts of reasons and excuses and all sorts of stuff. And we let him do that because, you know, that's our way. And then after a while, we brought out the 2x4 and said, okay, fine, well, we'd had enough of the excuses now. What was he going to do about it? And it was quite funny because he then tried to, you know, rationalize, and we know that rationalize is rational lies. And so he tried to rationalize it, and of course we weren't really buying that one either. And then actually it was really cute because he burst out laughing and said, oh, you guys are good. And I said, oh yeah, we are. And really, one of the things that he said was he thinks that one of the reasons that he got into this cold funk, if I can call it that, was because nobody actually did call him out on his stuff. And so there's this very fine line between what is letting somebody live life their way and, you know, really not calling them on their lies and on their stuff. And that's always been an issue, I think, for me. And I wonder whether it's been an issue for some of you as well, which is, you know, there's a fine line between the two of those. There's a fine line between I'm your friend and I'll let you live your life your way, and I'm a friend and I'll be damned if I'll let you live your life this way because I'm your friend. And therefore, if you know, and if you take that risk, And if you say, you know, well, this is what I see, and they still want to carry on living that lie, then that's okay, but you may need to rethink whether or not you still want to be a friend. And I think that's really where it comes to. Most of us are dead scared that we're going to lose a friend in this. Well, you know, friends are great. Friends are really great. And I'm the first one to tell you that I really appreciate my friends. And I do notice that they're getting fewer and fewer as I get older. And some of them have been around a long time, and some of them not so long. But I think that's normal when you go through life, because you're always shifting your realities as you go along. And so you look at it and you go, one of the things that has always struck me as unusual is that I could move away from places and start again. I did it a couple of times in my life. I moved away from home and went to live in London when I was still in my late teens. Major shift, and in the 60s. And then I moved from London to Africa in my early 20s. And then in my late 30s, I moved from Africa to Canada. Now, each time I left behind relationships, friendships, people I cared about, and every single time I did it, that's what happened. And that was before the days of internet and Skype and all the wonderful stuff that we have today. And so I look at it and I go, you know, sometimes you just have to call things for what they are and risk losing a friend. And if you are, I was watching the memorial for Maya Angelou, and I was listening to Oprah and various other dignitaries, including Mrs. Obama and so forth. And the one thing that each of them referred to in one way or another was the fact that we as women need to stay strong in who we are, you know, and not bend in the wind with every sort of new fad or every new thing that goes along. We need to believe in ourselves and what we're capable of doing, and we need to keep learning and passing on what we have learned. As you know, I'm a great believer in that each of us is capable of teaching the next. And as much as we run the broadcasts as a group of people who care about one another, our main function in running the broadcast is to help people in emotional pain in some way, and to see what we can do to support them, because we know with just a little bit of support, it's amazing what people are capable of doing. And what really was fascinating about last night's broadcast was that we were trying to help this particular male viewer, and he was saying that he didn't have, he had a number of issues going on. He was on antidepressants, and he had a history of bipolar, for which he was not only being treated but also getting counseling, which was excellent, except he'd given up the bipolar medication and the counseling. And was it surprising, therefore, that he was not feeling too healthy. And so one of the tricks, and I don't want to call it a trick because it's not true, but one of the things that you learn is that most people are smart enough to answer their own questions if you word it the right way. And I guess we asked the question, hey, what do you think you need to do about this? And he said, I need to get some help. But here was the gap. The gap was he didn't feel that he had the right sort of counselors in where he lived, in his immediate area. Well, of course, that triggered all sorts of reaction from the peeps, because we have peeps who love to research. We have peeps who, get their jollies out of doing research and helping people. And so I think I'm pretty sure it was Ashley that stepped up immediately and said, okay, fine. Let me have your details and I will research for you. And I just love that. I just love that we can do that. And the poor guy was going, what? No, just tell me where you live. I'll do the research for you. I'll find you the local people. And then his question was, and it was a good question, how do I know that they're any good? And again, it was like, no brainer. We'll do the research on that as well. And so I said, well, all we need you to do now is to look at the list of local counselors and work your way through it. And of course, the next thing I heard was, actually, I'm looking at the list now. And, I'm sure we all took a collective inhale and a big smile. Because that's how little it took to get him to help himself. He just needed somebody that understood what he was going through and to give him a bit of help. It didn't take a whole lot of stuff, it just took a little. And so I really encourage you all to realize that this is what life is about. If you need a little bit of help, that's what you need, a little bit of help, it's okay. Asking for help, as I've said time and time before, asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. When I do the return trip of this trip in about half an hour, I want to talk about the overwhelm I'm starting to feel and what's going on, because I'm sure a lot of you will relate to it and some of you will just roll your eyes and say, you've got to be joking. And the answer is no, I'm not. And the reason that I want to talk about it is because I can't be the only person in the world that does this to themselves. And so I'm going to do that on the way back. In the meantime, watch the long hair get shorter in just a matter of seconds. Bye-bye for now.